Nickelodeon Theater is a very small art house theater in Juneau, Alaska. We have been here since about 1998. It was built by a local man named Lyle Hebert, who built the place as a showcase for a film he made called Gold Town, which is a wonderful little 35-minute documentary on the founding of the city of Juneau.
It was the summer of 1867. 3 years after the Civil War and just a few months since Russia had sold Alaska to the United States.
He wanted to make this film and show it to tourists throughout the summer, and that didn't work out very well for him. So instead, he started showing independent films and documentaries as a way to supplement the income for the place to pay the rent. And we continue the tradition now. We have a full slate of new independent films, documentaries. We do a lot of community events. This is your standard booth, except half the size of any other booth. This is our Jimmy Stewart of the lot, the Century. She's gorgeous, it still works. I lubed the ever-loving shit out of her yesterday. And I hope nothing in here is against the law, because I will be called out on that so hard, but I don't know what the law is, so. This theater is not built on ground. It is built on pilings and backfill from the mining operations. So everything in downtown Juneau, from the waterfront to Franklin Street, is on pilings, and none of it's on land. We're one earthquake away from absolute disaster. Juneau is an isolated town. We are not on the road system. It's the only capital city you cannot drive to. The only way in or out is by boat or plane. So you can start to get a feeling of disconnectedness with the rest of the world, even though the majority of our population isn't from here. And so there's a great desire and need to feel a connection to what's going on, what we call down south. We don't actually mean Alabama. We just mean everywhere that's not here. Also known as America. Hey, mister. How are you? I'm good. How about you? I'm great, thank you. Are you staying for Sunset Boulevard? Or just, okay, then it's by donation. You're all good. Anything to eat or drink?
Art house theaters like this are vital to keeping arts and film alive. Juneau has several hearts, and this is definitely one of them. My name's Richard Radford, and I'm a Juneau resident of 8 years. I've been coming to the Gold Town from day one since I arrived in town. The first thing I do when I get to town is I check out the library and I check out an independent cinema if it's got one.
This is Billy Wilder's 1950 Sunset Boulevard.
Venues like the Gold Town are really good for hosting things that invite the public in to do all sorts of things. I've seen hundreds of performances here over the years. I've seen silent films with live bands. I've seen new independent film or foreign films, things that they're not even playing outside of major cities sometimes. Health organizations have come in and shown free films.
My name is David Otteson. I'm chair of the Birth Center Board of Directors. And every year, for the last few years, we've been presenting a film here at the Gold Town on birth-related subjects. And this year's film follows a Minnesota midwife from her taking her initial tests and through her first year of practice.
I try to get here early so I can get one of the couches in the back. It's very comfortable. It feels like an extension of home here. It just feels welcoming.
Judge, you need to fill up there?
Oh, sure.
My programming is really essentially for the people who live here all year. It's for the locals who are invested in the community and quite frankly in my theater. We do have a lot of tourists who come through here. We're the #1 cruise ship destination in North America. I think it's amazing if someone who's on a cruise ship wants to come in and see an art house film on their vacation. Sometimes I'll give them free tickets. Just the fact that they can find me is amazing. But it's definitely not something that I want to sell out my local audience for. For me, it's not worth it, because what's the point of being in a small town if you're not catering to the people who live there?
I have a great crew in the studio now. They're here as part of the Science on Screen event. So Science on Screen, there's a movie tonight, 7 p.m. at the Gold Town Nick. But before that, it starts with a lecture by Michelle at the library. She's an Alaska marine ecologist and submersible pilot. Did this start with the theater or with you at the library? How'd this come together, Beth?
Costas came to me and said, hey, there's this grant that I'm interested in, but we're a for-profit and we need a nonprofit partner. And I said, hey, maybe we can do that through the Friends of the Library. So it's sort of a collaboration between the Friends of the Juneau Public Libraries, the Juneau Public Libraries, and the Gold Town Nickelodeon.
The Abyss, Colette. How did you choose this film?
Well, I love this movie. Well, so sometimes we pick a movie and then we find a scientist. Sometimes we have a scientist in mind, we pick a movie. And this year we're focusing on women in science. And we have a natural lead-in with Ms. Ridgway here.
It's an awesome film if you're interested in submarine technology. He actually was using some cutting-edge science as well for what we were beginning to learn at that time in the late 80s about the deep sea. He definitely delves into bioluminescence. He also begins to introduce in caricature, but some forms that actually are very reminiscent of some spectacular gelatinous zooplankton, organisms that live in the open ocean at great depth that we had just been learning about. And he sort of weaves in some of these character forms and behaviors into his film.
At 5:30, Michelle, you will give a lecture at the downtown library. Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, and then everyone just walks, what is that, a couple hundred yards over to the Goldtown Nick for the movie
Yep.
at 7?
And you can't miss it tonight because there's a huge yellow submarine parked out in front of the Goldtown.
There you go. The movie's free. Let me know if you guys want anything to eat or drink. The movie's free today. I'm just keeping a head count here. Anything to eat or drink for you guys? Are you sure what size? So welcome to Science on Screen. Please welcome our evening speaker for the evening, the wonderful Michelle Ridgway. Thank you.
Thanks to those of you who came to the lecture over at the library. That was a lot of fun.
We had one of the best turnouts ever for us. Oh my God. It ranks top 5 coolest things we've done here, I think.
Put some music over this.
Colette, you're here today to talk to us about Founders Weekend.
Yes.
What can you tell us about this event?
We were founded back in 97, 98 that would be 1997, by a wonderful gentleman named Lyle Hebert, who many people out there know. One of the things I greatly enjoy about this job, about this theater, is the amount of different kinds of work I get to do. Not just doing movies and doing the events, but planning community events, promoting community events. I'm a better person if I'm staying busy and creating things. So I do a lot of performing. I do a lot of emceeing. Tell mama what you want. Tell mama. When this opportunity came up to sort of take over this movie house, I thought it was the perfect combination of my knowledge and my abilities and my passions. And I could pay myself to watch a lot of movies and then to choose the ones that I thought would really resonate with the people I knew and show it to them. So there are certain movies that have come along that I have literally done a dance for because I was so excited to be bringing them to town and to share them with people and have that great moment when they're walking out of the theater and they have that look like, wow. And you just like, yeah. And they just like, yeah. It's like, I know. And that's the whole conversation. Those are the best moments. Or when they walk out and they're crying. Hands down the best moments. I have a lot of issues with my theater as much as I love it, as I'm sure many theater people do, in that nothing is ever exactly how you want it to be. And I really wish that the roof wasn't leaking, and I sure wish that the chairs would stay attached to the floor. I also understand that a lot of that is part of what endears it to a lot of my patrons and to my guests. They don't see all the cracks. They just see this wonderful overall picture, and which I'm so eternally grateful for. Hi guys, how are you? Hi. Good, what you get for you? Okay.